Right, this part of my film I ought to entitle "That's What Happens to Rude People," because the thing is that what used to be there was a pub called the George by Barnacres Road here, and it was known to be the rudest pub in England, or the rudest landlord in England was there. And in fact, if you look around on YouTube for rudest landlord and the George, you'll see some videos about it, and you'll see what it looked like when it was still up, but obviously it's been knocked down now, so there you go. It may have seemed like a good idea at the time to get a reputation for being just so rude that people would almost go there for a laugh at how rude you were, but evidently somebody else had the last laugh, closed it down, knocked it down, and now the land is just there derelict, so probably there's no future in rudeness. I never actually personally experienced any rudeness there because, well, I was only in there when I was much younger, and that was obviously a different person then, and didn't have any such reputation at that time. And basically there was a lovely fish tank in there, the great big black shark. When I say black shark, I mean what used to be called Marulius chrysophaciadon adion. I think that's right, Marulius chrysophaciadon or something. Anyway, it became labio later, I think. They reclassified it. It's an African cyprinid. It's not a real shark, but it belongs to the group of cyprinid, which means carp-like fishes, which exist in most of the old world. I don't think there's that many of them in the new world. I think they use the term minnow to refer to other types of fish in America. I'm not sure how much they've got native actual cyprinids. They may have, I'm not sure, but certainly old world, all over Africa, all over Asia, and all over Europe, you've got cyprinids, and the type species, if you like, is the common carp, Cyprinus carpio, Linnaeus 1758, and that's basically the 3 tons. We passed Nash Mills School. I don't want to focus on it because you shouldn't focus on schools anymore in England. You get accused of photographing kids and things like that, and everybody's very sensitive about that. But here's the 3 tons, which is another nice pub in Nash Mills area. Nash Mills because there was paper mills here. It was John Dickinson. It's a nice sort of traditional area of England, but all of the actual Nash Mills itself, let's talk about England. This person's decked their house with the English cross of St George rather than Britain per se. It's more identifying with England, possibly because the football has started and England plays as England in football. It doesn't sing as England in the Eurovision Song Contest. We're always Royaume-Uni then, that's why we get nul point. But if we divided up and actually sang as individual nations and voted for each other, then we could do what the Yugoslavian countries do and win the Eurovision Song Contest every time. We wouldn't have to even be one of the sponsors in order to get a team in the final like we are now. So sometimes we appear as just the English, and sometimes we appear as the UK or Great Britain, which is also a bit funny really, to have Great Britain put on a country. What do people from Northern Ireland then have to do? They're not really Great Britain. It's the United Kingdom of Great Britain, which is this whole big island here with Scotland and Wales and England on it, and then you've got Northern Ireland, so you've got the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So that's actual name on the passport of the country. So if you just say GBR, as they do in some sports, then what about the Northern Irish people? Where do they play for? Do they play as Ireland because they're part of Ireland? As what you actually have is you've got the UK, which spills over onto the northern part of the Irish island, and you've got Republic of Ireland being most of the country, and then a bit of the UK on there. It's a bit of a mess, really. I mean, if it wasn't for the old politics going back, the mess we made in the time of the Reformation, that there's no real reason why it shouldn't just be one country. But those wounds obviously went very deep, so it's not easy for them to get back together again without certain scores needing to be settled, and which is why we haven't been able to do it. I don't think anybody in the UK's, other than the Northern Irish, are particularly, you know, have an axe to grind about whether it should be reunified or not, but the people in Northern Ireland are worried what would happen to them in some cases, and what would happen to their lifestyle, their identity. Everyone's got the right to an identity, and it's too small, I suppose, to be a country in its own right. That could be another way of dealing with the matter, but nobody seems to want that. So Northern Ireland will probably end up being unified with Southern Ireland one day, and according to the Good Friday Agreement, it's basically when they have enough people wanting unification to put it all together again, which is good enough for the southern side or the Republicans to agree to when it happened, but that was when Ireland was doing really well, when it was the Celtic Tiger. Whereas now, when it's suddenly gone down to the bottom of the pack again, showing what a balloon it all was at burst, now it's, you know, violence has come back onto the agenda, because once again, when it was a time when getting into being part of the Southern Ireland, for the Northerners to be part of Southern Ireland would have been a good thing for them, as relatively prosperous, is now that situation has reversed back to what it was previously, with Southern Ireland probably being less economically prosperous than the British part now again. So once again the issues have flared up that obviously who wants to go into a country which is less prosperous. But these things can change. On a, you know, in the course of a year, this change. So if it can change that one way, it can change that back another way, and they've got to get their act together, really. Nash Mills Wharf, new homes here, Linden Homes for sale, an exciting collection of stunning 3 and 4 bed homes. So we've got part exchange available, got the fountains going on, you've got lovely it's coming this way, lovely infrastructure planting with all these interesting trees, which are not necessarily going to be here at the end of the winter, but they're there to help the thing sell nicely now. It certainly looks very nice, I have to say. You've got more, of course, being built over there, which would be in all likelihood a bit more attractive because they'll be closer to the water. And as the road veers away from the canal, I shall probably go back onto the canal for coming back again to Hemel Hempstead. I don't want to get too far away while I've got to be responsible for collecting Sophie from school afterwards.